Hello, future bestsellers, hangers on friends, and people who are interested in publishing scandals. So we are actually late this morning in going live because we were all gabbing backstage about all of the brouhaha that has been happening this week, and we are going to be talking about that. There was a tweet that went around all week, and we'll dig into this more, but I posted a couple of different articles if you guys want to check them out. There was hold on, I'm gonna share this. So there was a tweet from, oh god, how many? I just have like 5,000 windows open apparently, from April Henry, author April Henry, who's a best-selling author, and she had quoted something on Twitter that came from the Hot Sheet, which is publishing sort of insider scoop newsletter, paid newsletter subscription that is generally very accurately reported, and what she was going off about was the first link that I sent, which is like the mail sheet. Oh, I might have published that one first. Anyway, the MailChimp link, and it comes from this publishing hot sheet. And what April said was, holy crap, out of 58,000 trade titles published per year, half of those titles sell fewer than a dozen books. And as you can imagine, look at that, 41,000 likes, almost 3,000 quote. And that was like Friday or Saturday. Like 6,200 retweets, and that just like went crazy. And so I reached out to a friend of mine at Publishers Weekly to find out what the scoop was, and we're going to talk about that today on the show. So I'm super excited about that. Okay, so I want to get rid of this. But before we get into all that, hi, welcome everybody. We're super glad that you guys are here today. I just want to talk about like what that means for all of us. So there were some other stats, some other facts that came out of there. And I think it's important to know this stuff. Like when you're thinking about, how do I want to get published? Do I want to go traditional or indie? Do I like, how much money am I going to make or not make, etc. Okay. So let's go around the clubhouse today. We're going to start with you, Story Detective. Will you please tell us a little about you and about your awesome channel, which has lots of new videos coming up? Very exciting.
Yes, the channel has been reactivated, and it is the Story Detective Robert Jones. And I take various forms of storytelling and put it under my Sherlockian microscope, break down the craft, and give it to the viewer to make your craft journey easier. And new stuff is coming, and new stuff is being worked on today. I'm going to be working on a couple of scripts to film and move right along.
Awesome. Fantastic. Carol Brown is here with us today. Tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
Hello, my name is Carol Brown. I write urban fantasy. I also write romance under the name of Faye Black, which is this name right here. I'm here actually to finish doing the outline for the Book a Week challenge that starts this Sunday, because I didn't finish the outline like I said I was going to. So that's what I'll be doing today. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. A book a week, I'm still like trying to wrap my head around that. Like, I think it's completely awesome, and I'm going to applaud from the sidelines. I'm just completely amazed, in awe.
I think this one's going to be harder because I don't have time in the morning to do it, so I'm going to have to work and then write it at night. So, like, I might record that trial or that tribulating time just for comedy. Anyway, thank you for having me. I'm here.
We're very glad you're here. You know who else is here? Michelle Schusterman is here. Hello.
Hi, I'm Michelle Schusterman. I write all kinds of novels. And I'm currently working on a middle grade novel, and my channel is Traditional Publishing Chat. So I'm very invested in this conversation and writing blogs and writing workshops.
Well, thank you very much, all of you guys, for being here. As always, I'm Lisa Daly. I write romantic comedies and nonfiction advice. And on this channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. So if you're interested in that, we're very glad that you're here today. All right, you guys. So here we go. Should we start with it? It's 11:10. Caro says, I believe in you. I can get started 10 minutes into the stream, but I haven't said hello to anybody. So now I'm like, oh, should we do that? All right, we are. I'm gonna do it to make Carol happy. As long as I can do it really fast. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna do our 5-minute warm-up sprint. Then we're gonna come back. We're gonna say hello to all of our friends, and then we're gonna get into our conversation, which I think is gonna be a good one. All right, here you go. So 5-minute writing sprint, or getting ready sprint, or getting your water sprint starts in 3, 2, 1. All right, fantastic. Let me just get rid of that little screen, get rid of our big publishing scandal ticker. So before we dig into it, oh, hold on, my thing just decided to go again without our permission. So before we dig into this very, very juicy topic, I want to say hi to our friends in the chat. So let's see who we've got today. Claude is here. Hello, Claude. We're very, very glad to see you today. Amy's here. Hello, Amy. Michael CB Chen. Whoop, whoop. Glad you're here today. I don't know why I did that. I'm a dork. Trudy's here because I was so excited. That's why I did it. Trudy's here. Hi, Trudy. Hello, beautiful back. We are very, very glad to see you. JC is here. Hello, JC. Wendy. All right. I think I have like an errant bra strap. It's bugging me. Okay. Wendy, so glad to see you today. Cool Gamers here. Hello. Hello. Very, very nice. CO Savvy's here. Hello, CO. We're very glad to see you. JL is here. Oh my gosh, you guys, we've got a great group today. Super great. All right, fantastic. JL's very excited about our topic. I'm very glad to hear about that. Laura's here. Hello, Laura. Yay. Just in time. Hello, Isabella. Very, very glad to see you. Margaret's been busy this morning. Just spent an hour searching through 3 whole categories of Barnes & Noble pre-orders. Just saw some friends' names, kind of dazed. That's what happens when I look at my Amazon pre-orders. Like my fate, I just glaze over. There we go. Isabella says 95 words. That's awesome for 5 minutes. Nice work. Very nice work. Trudy got 118 words in the warm-up. I got my document open, so there was that. And Independent Mom's Handbook. Hello. We are very, very glad to see you today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So welcomes aside, let's talk about, let's spill the publishing tea today. So for those of you who are not super familiar, and I know we had a few folks who just came in, so I'm going to go ahead and pop that tweet right back up. April Henry, who is a best-selling author, posted over the weekend, and it got like a ton of retweets and shares. But OMG, in the Penguin Random House Simon & Schuster antitrust trial, because for you guys who've not been following along, they're trying to merge, and the DOJ is saying no, that this is going to hurt authors. It's going to hurt authors who make $250,000 a year, but it will probably hurt everybody else too. It was revealed that out of 58,000 trade titles published per year, half of those titles sell fewer than 1 dozen books. So that obviously caused a lot of drama, and people were retweeting it and talking about it and all of that. And so I was really curious. And so I went to the site that she had linked, which I posted actually in our chat, so you guys can check it out too. And it's for a subscription newsletter called The Hot Sheet. And The Hot Sheet is published by Jane Friedman, and she is really well known. Like she does good reporting. She worked for Writer's Digest. She has covered, kind of what's happening in publishing that impacts authors for a long time. And she is generally accepted to be, a pretty excellent publishing reporter. So she had put this out, but I was not able to verify the source anywhere else, and I couldn't find it. And so I reached out to Contact at Publishers Weekly, who is the person who is covering the trial for PW, and said, hey, have you heard anything about this? And he had been, like many people, not focused on his job over Labor Day weekend. But I said, hey, do you know anything about this? And so he was going to try and run it down and see what he could find. And in the meantime, and so what happened, because I reached out to a couple other people too. So it is true that a publishing executive did in fact say that in the trial. So that is accurate. What is not accurate was that, I think what's not accurate is the actual numbers. So there was another email. Oh goodness.
Yeah,
Here.
'cause
I
I
think
know when you gave me the number, I was like, that doesn't like
right.
operationally make any sense to me. Like, why would you invest that much money in producing a book only for it to sell that much? Like,
Right. Well, and a lot of them don't. So there were two statistics. So then another article came out from someone who also covers publishing. When I just linked to that, and basically it was like, no, that statistic is not really accurate. In that, like, they couldn't quite figure out what the publishing executive was talking about, but at the end, the assumption was that it was like all the books that are available, that it sort of equals out to 12 books a year. So like so it could be like a copy of, some romance novel from 1977. After, when you average out all those sales, it works out to 12 books a year. I'm not sure if that's what the publishing executive meant, but there were other statistics that came out in the trial that have been widely reported in a variety of places, and it sort of fits with what has already, like, that we already kind of knew all along. And one of those is that 90% of books do not sell over 2,000 copies, and the top 5% of books sell 5,000 copies or more. And then the rest of this, the other thing, I think the big takeaway that I want to talk about today is that the other thing that came out of the trial that I think is really important for all of us to consider is that those big book contracts, well, two more things. One thing is if your advance is less than $100,000, they consider marketing like an extra. What the hell? What the hell? That's like almost all authors.
Yeah.
We're just going to throw you out there.
Mhm.
And then, right. So that's one thing. I want to talk about that. And then the other thing is that all of these big deals, which is what the DOJ has focused on, they're basically saying, hey, if there are only 4 publishers instead of 5, then it's going to be hard for authors to, you will have fewer places to take your book, and so you'll have less negotiating power, and that it's going to drive down royalties. They expect by like 20, or advances, they expect by about 20%. That number, like all publishing numbers, is out of the sky. But that if that impacts a $250,000 author, it's definitely going to impact a $5,000 advance author. So, right. So there's this whole thing. And what came out of that was that sort of represents, I don't remember, was like the top 4 or 5% of these deals that they're making. But the reason they have all that money is because of everybody else. So all those mid-list authors who aren't getting any marketing support, who aren't selling more than 2,000 copies, their work, your work, their toil is what is making Snooki's massive book deal possible. And we always knew that on some level, but now it's in black and white and the numbers are there, and that's it. You're not going to earn out. Most likely which we already knew, most books don't earn out. But like when you have those numbers, and I think about if you sell 5,000 copies with a traditional publisher, they'll probably dump you the next year. Maybe you'll get a second chance. But if you sell 5,000 copies as a self-published book, that's a pretty good amount of money that you're going to make. I mean, it's not like a massive amount of money, but it's a decent amount. It's more than $5,000. So yeah. Anyway, so Margaret wrote socialized publishing for celebrities. Unfortunately, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So
it's always been that, really. It's just that we went from, what would be a mid-list sale of 25,000 books down to a couple of thousand books. So it's pathetic now.
It is. The other thing was that the publishing industry's sort of defense of this was like, no, essentially they kept saying over and over again, we don't actually know how publishing works. We don't know what makes a bestseller. Like, it's all these lucky factors and blah, blah, blah. So all that stuff that they use to, and again, I have, most of my books are traditionally published, but probably not for long. But all that P&L, here's how much we project it's going to sell. And we already knew this is a lot of just guessing, which, and that, as the judge said, is fake. So anybody else who has more to say on this?
I don't even know where to start.
There's a lot to say, but yes, the entire publishing world is filled with bean counters, and those bean counters have always devoted the time to the top 12 people that sell everything, that get the promotion.
Mhm.
Everybody else is grist for the mill, and they'll sometimes undercut the number of copies that are printed so you can't earn out. I've heard all kinds of stories. I've had friends that have had friends, and I've always asked questions, and it's always been just a scary proposition. My opinion is you're better off going with a small press or publishing it yourself these days, because until they get things settled out, unless you're a celebrity, it's really impossible. I remember Stein telling me years ago, back when numbers were much bigger, that he said they didn't take those mid-list numbers seriously, and that nobody can be an innocent, and what you think of your book, you have to get out there and do a hell of a lot of work, because they have never done anything for anybody that's below that top tier level.
Yeah. I will say I had a great experience with Penguin, who's my first publisher, but my editor was the editor-in-chief, and she loved my book. And that book got a little extra love, and it sold really well. And I think that matters. But also, they're counting on throwing out a bazillion books out there and having some of them will rise to the top, whether the author is really good at marketing or somebody important or TikTok or whatever else just finds it and makes it go, or book clubs love it, or it's scandalous and reporters want to talk about, or whatever it is. That those books where they don't pay very much and they earn out a lot, those are the books that are really supporting the publishing industry. But they're not, and that's, I guess, the thing, the idea that you have to be, that under $100,000 advance, you're not getting any marketing support. It already felt like that, but now we know this is the fact.
I'm glad it's out there.
I am too, because I think we need more information to make better decisions.
Yeah, that's how I feel about a lot of this. Not the Barnes and Noble stuff, but the stuff that came out of the trial is I'm not saying people don't have a right to feel outraged or whatever you're feeling about it, but this is nothing new. This is how it's been. It's just getting dragged out into the light. Nothing has actually changed.
Right. Yes, that's exactly right. The other thing too that has been covered alongside this is how little publishing people who are not, the top executives don't make that much money. There are now a lot of big corporations that own these publishing, conglomerates that own these publishing houses, that have been consistently consolidated and merged and all of that. But the people who are doing the work on the ground, the editors, the assistant editors, the editorial assistants, they are getting bigger and bigger and bigger workloads with fewer and fewer and fewer people to do them. And it has always been assumed that you would do your reading outside of your work hours. But one of the other things that folks have talked about since this came out, a lot of publishing people who work in publishing for the big five have said they barely have any time to read anything, that they're so underpaid they can barely live in New York, and it's that it takes a really long time. And you used to have an editor would have an assistant. Now an editor doesn't have an assistant. Now an associate editor is still doing sort of assistant kind of work, and it's just, the whole thing is crazy. So Snooki's making some good money, but the people who put those books out, and the writers, the editors who are in it for the love, because they're definitely not in it for the money, those people are not. So
some author or editors who had New York Times bestselling authors on their list and award winners were laid off during the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's it. One of the other things, I think MJ Rose, who was traditionally published. Then she's self-published a bunch of books, and she runs a book marketing service where you can reach out to book clubs and things like that. And it's sort of a kind of a book marketing guru. She's been around for a long time. And one of the things that she said about this was that oh my God, I totally lost my train of thought. What were we just talking about 2 seconds ago? What'd you say last, Michelle?
About how it's always been like this. Nothing's actually changed.
Oh, no. Oh, no, you said that editors who have gotten laid off. Yeah, who had New York Times bestsellers, USA Today bestsellers on their list were getting laid off. Right. Well, what MJ said just this week was that, like, if you're a writer who even a writer, if you're a USA Today bestseller, that's not going to guarantee that you're going to get another publishing contract.
No.
What? Yeah. Like, yeah. So that's the thing. Now, the good news in this, I did not mean for this to be like this crazy downer. The good news in this is that there are still plenty of authors who are making a decent living off of their work, and they're doing alternate methods. Maybe they're doing some, hybrid, or maybe they're self-publishing, or they're doing something else on the side where they're ghostwriting or whatever. But there are authors who are making a living doing this, but it's that sort of traditional path where you could publish like a book that was super popular, and it just is like shrinking. And I don't know what, I'm not sure if it's where I am in my career or just my perspective has changed, but I was so like riled up about the idea of all these poor mid-listers who have to have day jobs and are starving and, make $12 on their books, over the course of 19 years, that all those spend their advances on their PR, which I have done that. Plenty of authors I know do that, right? Yeah. That more. And like that their model is just that we can support the Snookies, and that the editors who would like to publish your book don't have enough time to read it because they're spending all their days in meetings. So
it's corporate America shrinking everything down in a nutshell. I mean, where does it really end? Does it benefit them in the long run? Are you going to have like one guy sitting in an office managing the 12 people that sell in the future, and nobody else is going to, it's really, really shrinking to a scary percentage.
It is. So JL, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that. Like, yeah, definitely. If you want to traditionally publish and that's what you're set on, then you have to know that you're doing it for the prestige, and I mean, I always say this, even if the chances are 1 in a million, somebody's going to be the one, and it might as well be you. So, I mean, I've like my whole career built on that premise. That said, authors do stand a chance. We just need to rethink the traditional model because it's not working for us. But there are a lot of other models that are, and so I think that's something that we really need to consider.
You can break out of the pack. I mean, as Lisa said, there's people that do it all the time. The publishing companies are surprised because their politics are, if they're not helping you, you're not going to do it on your own. But you have to. You have to make sure the writing, first of all, that you're putting a good product out there, and then you have to market it every bit as hard as if you did it all yourself with self-publishing.
Absolutely true. So Michael says, here in Canada, if you sell through 5,000 print run, you won't get dumped. We Canucks are a much smaller scale. That is, I think that's true. I feel like Canada is just kinder, gentler anyway. I do think that is true. And the UK is the same way. Like, you can have a best-selling book with 5,000 in sales, but obviously smaller place. Yeah, you can, but again, you have to sort of rethink the original model. And I think a lot of times traditionally published authors are sort of working off that dream that we all had in the 3rd grade. Right? Yeah.
A little different now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
TV,
right.
Movies, the whole illusion of it. the
Yeah.
business of it is entirely different.
Yeah, that's it. But so that's it, right, JL? This is the thing, is that I guess when you think about that, and I always say this, you have to think about your publishing career as a business, right? Because and look out for yourself. And so if it's important to you to have, like, if the prestige factor of traditional publishing is more important to you than the money, then, and you should not have to choose, but if it's one or the, or you want to, spin the lottery wheel, then like that's absolutely something that, is a totally valid decision. But I think it's important to know that I know it sounds awful. Hold on. Somebody said, so CEO says, I have no words, trying to stay positive, keep my head down, write the books, but thanks for having platforms. You're welcome. But now that you know, then you can plan accordingly, because it's way better to know, go in with your eyes open and go, okay, well, these are the trade-offs for this. Like, you already knew that you were going to get less money per book if you go traditional publishing, because, they have to pay all those editors and Snooki and all that. But, right? They do. But, if you have this information, then you can make good choices for yourself. I mean, that's it. Yeah, there are plenty of writers that are making, I am a writer making a good living. So there are plenty of writers who are making a good living, but there's more than one way to make that happen. I think that's like my main point.
Yeah. Another factor that people don't talk about is not everyone is treated the same. You could go to the same editor, the same company, and you could be treated like the grand poobah or like complete dirt. I mean, they have their favorites, and you never know who you're going to become friends with.
You
And
don't.
they can champion you, and they can really push you out there.
Yeah, that's true. And also, you can be in with the same house, in the same imprint, and just get dumped off to somebody else who didn't buy your book and doesn't care about it and is not particularly attached to it, comes in sort of mid-cycle. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your book. It just means like they're trying to work on the stuff that they're bringing in, and that your book is an orphan, which really sucks. JL, yeah. So I think there's some real truth to that. I mean, I will say one of the things that is kind of awesome is the level of control, because it's really frustrating to fight with people over something like a cover that you're like, I hate it, my audience is gonna hate it, and then later to find out like they don't really care about your book, they just tortured you for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I shouldn't say that. There are editors that love books and do everything that they can for them. I certainly have been treated poorly at publishers and treated well at publishers, and it really had to do with the people that I was dealing with. And I would say I have more good experiences than bad. But I also say, like, the longer I'm in this, the less money you end up making from all these different books. And that kind of seems like my audience is bigger, even your sales numbers are bigger, but somehow like the end is smaller, and you're like, well, that doesn't quite add up. All right. Okay. Margaret says it's a Rube Goldberg system to stiff all the working class writers in the system behind the curtain, now seeing the light. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. True. I have to say that. True. But I don't want you guys, like, I did not bring this up because I want you all to feel like publishing sucks and it's all awful and all of that. There are those breakout stars, right? But also, if you have the information, then you can think about how you want to build your career and figure out what is most important. It's better than going in blind.
This way to think about all of this right now.
Yeah.
There's a mentality there, and you have to go in believing in yourself and feeling strong about it. I went into my career thinking none of this is ever going to happen to me.
Right.
And that belief system got me pretty far.
Yeah. Ditto.
When I was working at Marvel before all this, or at the beginning of all the changes that are happening in the entire, entertainment world, I had editors that I was friends with, and suddenly they were all laid off, and they hired a bunch of kids, and they basically gave them a company script, and you couldn't talk to any of them. So you never know what's going to happen, but you go in believing that you're going to be the exception and not the rule. And that mentality can take you far.
It can take you very far. Like I said, I owe that most of my career, 98% of my career to that. Just like somebody's got to be the one, it might as well be me. So Margaret, do we get any sugar or silver lining for this tea? Yeah. So I think that the silver lining is that we don't have to take it anymore. That it used to be you had one option to get your books out into the world, and now you can do pretty much everything a publisher can do all on your own. Like, yes. There's almost nothing. You can get into Barnes and Noble to the same extent that they are. You can, you can get your, you can have your cover look exactly the way you want. You can take more of your royalties home. You can build your own audience and all of those different things.
And if you do a good job and get noticed, you could become a hybrid author. It's not a bad way to get your work out there if you have a good product and still maintain some control of it. I was actually talking to the BookTube goddess about these people that are making 12 figures in self-publishing by cranking stuff out there, making it a number system, and basically putting out that 12 books a year. But none of it is good, at least not really good. And it's changing the platform for everybody, because what happens when they stop selling? Then Amazon's going to put it up to what? 36 books a year.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that you can keep up with that, but I will say, although you could probably do, I don't know if it counts, but it seems like if it had different ISBN numbers, that releasing multiple formats of, so let's say you could put let's say that instead of doing 12 books a year to goose the Amazon algorithm, you could do staggered releases of 4 titles in different formats. So instead of writing 12 hockey romance books, I write 4, but I release it on day 1 in paperback, and then a couple weeks later in ebook, and a couple weeks later in hardcover, or in any order that you choose. And so maybe that, because they all have different ISBNs, maybe that feels the same to Amazon. Maybe that counts as 12. I don't know the answer to that. Does anybody else know the answer to that?
The people that I see in Writer's Digest and people that are getting the awards and some kind of credibility, they're not putting out like a whole bunch of books per year. They're actually focusing on one good book that stands out, because in a sea of people that's just rushing to put out words on a page, you really have an opportunity to stand out if you apply craft and a good story. And that's kind of what I'm seeing. So there's an opportunity there. Just don't follow the business of Amazon, because that's for them. That's their numbers, not yours.
Yeah. I think you really have to build the business, the author business, that's going to work the best for you and your writing and what you want to get out of it, whether that's money or prestige or fame or whatever else. The info coming out makes traditional publisher. I'm sorry, I had the whole Snooki thing just cracked me up. She smelled like vegetable oil. I left it up there because I didn't want to go buy it. It was so the whole time Robert's talking, it's like Snooki vegetable oil, but that is hilarious. Thank you for sharing, and Music for All, because I think that's like the gossip tip of the day. Info coming out makes traditional pubs seem so much more like vanity pubs in practice, since than they want anyone to know, right? I think I do see that. Decent like Stephen King. Yeah, speaking of Stephen King, he testified for the Department of Justice against Simon & Schuster, which is his longtime publisher, who has brought him lots and lots. Actually, he has brought them lots and lots of money. There's that. Yes, true. Also true. Although again with Stephen King, man, that guy just produced. He's a hardworking guy. All right. Got a date with a web developer in a few, hoping to get shopping cart fixed. Yay! Good luck. All right. We're very glad. Speaking of writing, we've got some more comments, but I feel like we should go ahead and do a sprint. It's too bad I don't have one up. So why don't you guys go around? Well, I popped that sucker up. Why don't you guys go around and talk about what you're working on today? I know Carol mentioned what she was working on. Robert, what are you going to work on today?
I'm working on some YouTube scripts and going to be filming some more so I can keep up with this channel. It's not going to be a weekly thing. Sometimes you'll get a video in a couple of weeks in a row, and other times it may skip a week or two. But it'll be a steady flow regardless, just not on YouTube's time.
Well, I did want to talk about your video at some point. So so maybe we'll talk about that a little bit when we come back from the break. Okay. Michelle, what are you working on today?
Oh, my middle grade. Trying to finish that draft.
Fantastic. That is super awesome. Oh, I've got like the thing gigantic, which is not going to do me any good. All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead. I'm going to be working on my hockey romance today. I have an interesting challenge that I noticed from talking back and forth with my newsletter group. We can talk about that when we come back too. Like that I did not anticipate. Another good reason to have a newsletter, right? All right, let's share that thing. Of course, it takes me too long. All right, here we go. Okay, so we're going to start our 20-minute writing sprint in 3, 2, 1. Sprint. All right, we're back. So let me grab that banner off the bottom. There we go. So we had some really great comments. You guys are really hopping today. Let me just pull those off really fast. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, no. You guys, StreamYard jumped hard. I was all prepared. Okay, here we go. So, actually, we should talk about how we did. How'd you guys all do in the sprints? That's why we came here today. Everybody, let us know in the chat how you did on that last sprint. Carol, how'd you do?
I outlined to the midpoint of my book.
Nice.
Oh, good. All right, fantastic. Story D, how'd you do?
I did good. This video is going to be interesting and different.
Interesting and different. That's always good. How about you, Michelle?
500 words on the nose.
Look at you. That's awesome. Fantastic. I did not count how many I did. I'm gonna eyeball it. Looks like I did about 250. I got about a page in, so a little more. So maybe 250, 260. I will say I had a little epiphany. Last night after I posted my short, because Michelle and I have been posting shorts back and forth to talk about our writing progress for the day. And I had decided not to dictate yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And and I wrote less, but I really enjoyed my writing day.
Yeah.
And I sort of had like an aha moment late last night about why that was. But I'm going to share it in my short. Or maybe I guess no, we're definitely not going to get it. Our next week's topic is going to be about writing process, and it actually made me like think about like, oh, this is something that was really different that I hadn't really thought of before. So I had a little epiphany last night. I'm excited about that. Okay, let's talk about this question. I thought it was good. Matthew wants to know if TV and movies is the new book, are the new books. What do you guys think?
I don't think so, but I think they're getting very. I think there's a lot of people out there who want TV and film deals, and they think for some reason writing a book is the best way to do that. And I'm like, why don't you just become a screenplay writer and kind of skip that really difficult middle part of the
skip that difficult middle step.
Like books, they shouldn't be. They should be two separate things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think here's the thing. A lot of writers are smart people and they're good at more than one thing. And so, right. So you think like, oh, I'd like to do this. I like to do that. Also, I think a lot of film agents are looking for sort of a proven property. Mm-hmm. And so if you have an indie book that has a lot of sales, or if you have a traditionally published book that has a good following, then or just one that's super interesing to an agent.
Right. There's nothing wrong with that. I think adaptations are great.
Yeah.
I just feel like a lot of authors
really secretly want to be screenwriters.
That's the end goal is a film deal. And it's like, there's an easier path for you than writing a book. It gets that. I don't know.
Yeah. I can see that.
And it talked about this guy and what he went through to get his film deals for Netflix. And yeah, if you write a good book, they're always looking for those proven things because they don't write a lot of original scripts. You have to kind of have a property and a character because character isn't plugged into screenwriting anymore. So there's that. But you have to be two different people, and you have to be that screenwriter, and you have to be that pitch person. And it's all different levels and all different hats to wear.
True. That is true. JL made an excellent point that prestige can come in different formats for writers, right? So for some people, it's seeing your book on the shelf of the Barnes & Noble. For some people, it's seeing Penguin or St. Martin's. I literally am like, who's not Penguin anymore? I'm seeing like the name of a big publishing house and their logo on the spine of your book. And for some people, it's like, making 100, 150, 200K a year in royalties. And like, and do you care who's on the spine of your book? I will say, like, for me at this point, and again, not fair, really. It's not like I'm coming into this fresh. I have already self-published or have already been traditionally published. And so I don't feel like I have anything to prove in that way. And so for me now, it's like, it's about the money. Like, how do I maintain the closest connection with my readers and also make a good living? I do like that there is a group on Facebook, if you guys are interested, that is about, it's called 20 Books to 50K. And the guy who runs that, he has classes, he has books, he has an army of fans. Well, basically the idea is that you need to have 20 books out in order to make about $50,000 a year as an author. And I think one of the great things about that group is that it just makes it like, okay, if I like, this is enough to live on, and if I want to make this, and then, you know, here's how I get from here to there. And there are lots and lots of people in the group who get there a lot faster. Some of them get there slower, but it's a really good community. And I think it's you know, I think it's a good place to be. My the horror geek just texted me 20 books to 50K. Those people are, yeah, I think that they're producing a lot more books. And like I said, I just read something, I just saw a post from someone who made like almost $100,000 on 8 books, and she started like a year and a half ago. So it obviously it always does that, but he was saying on average that's about what it takes. But that could be any kind of book, right? Some books, romance sells better than other kinds of books.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Nihilist Geek, you are right on time for the scandal. JL says big for screenwriting. And also you can break out easier in the UK than over here. True. Smaller pot or fishbowl, whatever you want to say it. CEO savvy. I'm not going to give up hope. When the music industry started screwing mid-list artists, they sang in coffee shops, train stations, got discovered on YouTube, etc. I just need to be more creative. I think I might have posted this already, but you know what? It's worth reposting because it's an awesome attitude to have.
Right.
Yep. Definitely. All right. We're going to just... Trudy says, I'm really trying to decide whether I want to self-publish or traditionally publish my self-help book. So I always think, like with nonfiction in particular, if you're going to speak, which a lot of self-help authors do, you know, they sort of are coaches and they often will do speaking gigs, and you can make so much money in the back of the room sales. So it really depends. Like for a lot of people, a self-help book is more like a business, like a really fancy business card. And for other people, they really have something to say. So it kind of depends on what you're looking at. Dun, dun, dun. This is great. JL says, treat it like you would everywhere else. Stay focused, stay resolute, and plow forward. Yes. If you have the funds for advertising, going indie is worth it. All right. Nihilist Geek. Hi, Geek. We're so happy you're here. Few romance authors are marketers pushing ghostwritten books under pen names and use massive mailing lists to cross promote. That's why I always say, build your mailing list. Okay, so I thought of something while we were doing the sprint, and we're going to try and get to another sprint because I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to write. But I thought about something during the sprint. Robert, you were saying like 12 books a year. That's crazy. And then I thought our very own Michelle is ghostwriting up a storm. How many books do you think you're putting out in a year? How many books do you think you're writing in a year? I know some of them are yours and many of them are for other people.
Yes. Oh man, you're gonna make me do math. Okay, no, I can do that. I can do that real quick. So this year, I've written. I'm gonna go through it real quick. For my own novels, I wrote my mystery novel that I'm still revising. I'm gonna have written this next book for Scholastic, and that's it for my own novels. I think. Yeah. So ghostwriting, I have 2 books for one client. 2 books for another client, 3, I want to say 9 total.
That's
9, yeah.
9 total. So 9
total.
plus your 2.
This year. It might be 10. There's a client who's like scheduled for the end of this year. And I'm ready to do it, but he keeps pushing the date back for various reasons. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think I'm at 10.
10 books in a year.
Yeah,
The high quality writing that we expect from Michelle Schusterman.
Yeah, and therein that's an impressive number, but that's the difference. I mean, Michelle knows her craft. I mean, if you sat down and you just had a basic idea of how to put cohesive words on a page and wrote 12 books, chances are you would stand out among people who
Earn
weren't
while
that
you
cohesive.
learn, baby.
Right. Yeah. It
I'm
makes a
kidding.
difference.
Yeah, that's true. Michelle, you've been writing for a long time, right?
over a
Yeah.
decade.
Yeah, right. So that does make sense. And I think, and that actually goes really nicely into what we're going to be talking about next week, which is your like writing process and how we do that as authors. And part of that is like, how do you solve problems? Like I'm thinking about you and I posting videos back and forth about like, oh, I had this problem today. Or like yesterday, your video was like, I really do need an outline. Like you needed a more full outline than what you had. And I actually had the same issue, I don't know, like a week or two ago, where I was like, ooh, I don't know enough about what I need to know about the series. So I need to go back and do that. And so,
that now.
right. And so here's the funny thing though. Do you really think of that as your writing process? No, but you've been doing this long enough, as have I, that when you encounter a problem, you know what, like, oh, I need to go back to step 2, or, oh, I need to do this, or, oh, I need to do that. Although sometimes we just drag it on and I have no idea what the hell is wrong. But mostly you go, oh, this is a problem with this structure, or I don't know this, or
And
I haven't done enough
recognize that
research.
sometimes it may take a minute, but you think about that as compared to people that are just spilling words on a page. And you know, I need that, and I can spot when something is off. I'll have to go back and sometimes look at it. But then when I find it, it's like, yeah, it's usually that foundational thing that's throwing me off, and it's throwing my entire story off because I didn't give it enough thought. It's not working right on the page, and I can't blast my way through it because I don't have that through line of thought to get from point A to point B. I have to kind of work it out. Stephen King might say sit down and just write, but if you think about it, even his stories, he can kind of do what he wants in the process. And his books are, here's the through line, and then there's like 10 tangents in between where he's going here and he's going there, and then he gets back to the point again. And most people couldn't do that and sell a book.
That's true. Trudy wants to know, has anybody worked with Hay House or Balboa Press? For those of you who do not know, Hay House does a lot of self-help and sort of kind of higher purpose sorts of books. It was founded by Louise Hay, who wrote a really interesting book about, and I cannot remember what it was called. Anyway, it's about how, like, if you have pain in your back, it's related to this sort of, like, it connected like your body parts to like your emotions, and it was fascinating. But it is an awesome publisher. If you get an offer from Hay House and you are a self-help author, you should definitely consider it, because they do so much cross promotion with all of their different authors. There are so many opportunities. They host speaking events. They do big conferences. I mean, there are so many opportunities. So if you write a Hay House kind of book and you get an offer from Hay House, I would definitely take it. So.
I heard that they're really good, and they keep their number of books limited so they can actually do that work with people, which is nice.
Yeah, they're really good at self-promotion. I have a Hay House book right up here.
HarperCollins, take note. You don't have to acquire everything.
Right.
Throw it all
Right.
against the wall and see what sticks.
And they're making a lot of money. But I will say also they like really expand the authors sort of past the book.
Yeah.
So, right. So and the funny thing is, this first book that Louise Hay originally wrote and then founded the house on, was like, it's pretty woo woo, and a lot of their authors are a little woo woo, but boy, they're making some bank. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Okay. So, Amy came in when we talked about, like, if you could massage the Amazon algorithm by releasing 3 different formats of the same book separately. Whether or not that would sort of boost their constant content thing. And Amy says, yes, different ISBN counts as different products. We're into that for seller numbers, but they have a fancy algorithm for calculating if your seller number actually equals popular content. Okay, that's interesting. All right, good. Yeah, there is something else I wanted to say about multiple formats too, and I feel like this is a big mistake that a lot of self-publishers make, in that they only publish an ebook, and you're losing out on a lot of sales because a lot of people don't buy ebooks; they only buy paperbacks or they prefer hardcovers, and there's no reason with like Amazon or Draft to Digital or any of those things that you can't have all the formats except audio, and even that you can have if you want to, and you should, because that's where the growth is. All right, here we go. Michael says, I once dreamed of being a writer. It's true. And buying a house most shiny and new. I now know it won't at all be this way. I still dream of being a writer each day. I have a shiny house. You could do it. It can be done. I just want you guys to have I do not want, like, I definitely do not want this to be a conversation where everyone's like, well, crap. Dream dead. That's not it at all. I want you to be informed before you make decisions, so that you do not spend 10 years of your life hoping for money that does,
Yeah,
and wondering
the
what's
silver
in there.
lining of this is, if you know what lays ahead, the difficulties, you can better navigate your personal GPS.
Yes.
Right.
And it's time for a revolution. I mean, the old ways are not working for most people, and there's a lot of smart people out there. They need to put their heads together and think of a better way.
Yeah. Well, and I think a big clue as to there are people thinking of better ways is that a lot of what publishing is doing as far as marketing is stealing from what the indies are doing. They are figuring things, indies are figuring things out to sell books, and publishers are coming in and trying to, and then the indies find some other thing that's a, faster, cheaper, easier way to get to their.
And I could rant about that for fucking hours.
Yes. Yes. Well, isn't that the way it always is, though? Somebody figures out a good way to do it, and then they tell a few other people, and then somebody, and then it starts working and people notice, and then everybody else gloms on. I mean, that's just the way of business and the world and everything else.
It's always been that way. The good ideas trickle upward. The only thing that trickles down is attitude.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Let's do one more sprint before we go today. I think we've had such a great conversation too, so I'm very excited about that. All right. Here's the thing. Okay, you guys. This is going to be our last one because it's 12:25. Yeah, we're not going to have enough time for we're not going to have enough time for one more after this. So let's make this one count. All right, here we go. We're going to start sprinting in 3, 2, 1. Sprint. All right. So we are back. We have some other good comments. How did everybody do on that last sprint?
I am, excuse me, I'm almost done with the first script here. So one more to go over, and I should be ready to film either later or tomorrow.
Fantastic. All right. Fantastic. Very, very nice. How about you, Carol? How'd you do?
I got towards Act 3 of the outline, and then I didn't really like the conflict, so I decided to percolate on it, as I like to say.
There.
And I switched gears and started doing one-page synopsises for a comic I wanted to write. So that's what I did.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Very good. How about you, Michelle? How'd you do on that last one?
Good. I think I got another 600 or 700 words. Yeah.
Excellent. Very, very nice. So I apparently missed this before because you guys know how bad I get with comments. So on our last sprint, Nihilist Geek got 213 words. What? And Jen writes romance. Jen, I'm so happy you're here. Hold on. I'm making a note to make sure I'm following you. We romance authors need to stick together. I feel like I am, but I just want to make sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I like to follow everybody on here, but just in case. All right. So, yeah, 351 words. Woohoo. Very, very nice. Nice. Wendy, look at you. 460 words on that. Paget editing second draft got about half a chapter done. That is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Very, very nice. And Music for All says Hollywood isn't producing any new ideas, so unless you wrote a hit book in the 80s, can't really recommend hoping to land much there without a well-established IP and fan base in advance.
So we just got to go back in time. That's what I heard. So make the time machine. We'll go back to the 80s.
Yeah.
And we'll be set today.
That's it, right? 20 books to 50Ks is more of a title, but you have to be on the market to make it. Nihilist Geek says self-pub money is on consulting for people who read your book, by the way. If you are interested in that, read Expert Secrets. All right, that's interesting. Very nice. There's lots and lots of stuff. Oh, Devin's here. Hi, Devin. Very, very glad. All right. So Paget says, I think if I made more money personally, I would feel better about it. So more money over prestige. Did we talk about this before? I feel like we might. Oh, I think we talked about covers. Would you rather have a cover you love or a cover that brings more, like converts more buyers, more readers? But then again, isn't that true of just about everything? Yes, true. All right, you guys, hold on. Let's get There's a whole like parent thing back and forth between Jen and Trudy. All right, here we go. All right, Trudy got 445 words on our last sprint. Very, very nice. Oh, no. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Good gracious. All right, Dawdling Writers here. Hi, glad to see you today. I finished my lunch and wrote down the ideas I've been brainstorming all morning. Not a ton of words, but it feels like progress. Yes, very nice. Novelist Allie, 502 words. Whoop, whoop. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. All right. CO Savvy is going to come. I was going to save it for my short later today, but I'll share. It's just chickens. I'll share you guys. So my epiphany was, it wasn't an epiphany about my newsletter. It was an epiphany that I had because of my newsletter. So I normally write romantic comedy, right? And I am writing a hockey romance, which is sort of a different genre, but it is still going to be a romantic comedy. And I've been telling my readers on my newsletter, hey, I'm working on this romantic working on this hockey romance. And I had said, I'm like looking for inspiration for my heroes. So if you have any cutie hockey players I should be looking at, send your advice, right? So I got a lot of pictures and some good comments, which is fantastic. But I also got a number of emails where people said like, oh, I don't really watch hockey. And then after I got all those suggestions, we put together a graphic for the next newsletter that said like that had like 14 options. Like, okay, pick your next book boyfriend. Everybody vote. And it didn't have like names or what team they played for or anything like that. It was just like these different players numbered, because I was sort of interested, like, you know, everybody has their own sort of tastes of like the type of characteristics they prefer, but I was sort of wondering like specifically what my readers liked. And so people voted, and I did get a lot of response with that, but I also got some response like, oh, I don't really know any of the hockey players. And I thought like, oh, if I am, so here's my big epiphany. Was I like turning off, or I wouldn't even say turning off. Was I sort of eliminating some of my existing readers? And even my mother said this, right? Well, I don't really know. Like, of course she's going to love my book, but I don't really know any hockey players, honey. And so I was thinking like, oh my gosh, I should, like, what this is at its heart is a romantic comedy. And it just so happens that one of the characters happens to be a hockey player, just like one of the characters in my last book was a chef. So it doesn't really change the core of what the book is. And so I thought about like, I really need to think about this in the way that I'm marketing this book. Do I really want to market it in a way that is true to the genre, like the subgenre, which is normally a very good plan? Or do I want to make sure that I'm marketing it in a way that people who already like my kind of books will go, okay, that's a book for me. So that was my epiphany. It's a little bit long and drawn out for an epiphany. but that was it. I gleaned valuable marketing information from my newsletters, or from my newsletter subscribers, and thank you for voting, CO Savvy. I gained valuable insight, and it was super fun because it was very engaging. So there you go. All right, there you go.
There has to be a wound that his love interest can nurse him back to health and cheer him on.
Right. Well, she has it, right? That's the thing about romance, is that both characters have a core wound that they have to get over in order to get together and be happy. Mm-hmm. Everybody has to grow, not just one person. So yeah, that's what I love about that genre. And is that true in real life? Sorry, go ahead.
I've got a funny story from playing hockey in high school gym. I don't know if you guys played, but it was always the mess where everybody's sticks were like crowded and jamming and trying to, and I'm sitting over here leaning on my stick. Everybody's focused on the jam, and the puck slides out from under in front of me. And I hit it. It actually went flying the length of the gym right into the goal, because the goalie was watching the mess of sticks firing over here. And everybody's like, what just happened?
Robert, future hockey star. That's awesome. I love to hear that. That is absolutely fantastic. Love. CO Savvy says, didn't mean to twist your arm. I actually, that was I have a separate epiphany that I will share tonight in the show, in the shorts. Actually, I was confused for a second. So I'm happy to share my 20 people online and the 3 other panelists, right? And the 100 people who will watch this later. I'm happy to share that. And as I said, you guys know how much I'm all about the newsletter. I may have mentioned that 17 times in this particular stream.
Yeah, as CEO said, I'm the only one of the group that doesn't have one yet, but it's coming. I'm getting back on track and getting one thing done at a time, because when my focus is scattered on too many, then I go a little crazy.
Yeah, right. And your to-do list has to be completely manageable. That is something. Yeah, absolutely. And as you're building your author career, like that's the thing. Like you have some things where you just build it in and then it becomes a habit and you're doing it all the time. But starting a newsletter is a lot different than maintaining one. Hi, Spence. We're super glad you're here today. We're glad you made it. Anybody else have anything to say about our topic today? Carol, you've been awfully quiet today. Unusually quiet.
Well, no. of the 4 people on this panel, I have the least to say about the traditional publishing aspect. And the document you gave me was very detailed and very lengthy, and unfortunately, it would probably take me an hour to read. So I don't like talking out of my ass about things I don't understand fully. So
well, and we appreciate that, right? Well, anytime. Like sometimes more, like some people have on the panel have more to say about a specific topic, and others of us need to, hang back. That's what I do.
All right, I listened and took notes. That's what I did.
That's good. Well, I am often doing that because you guys are so smart. I always like think of things and learn things and like get insights when we have these conversations. So, anybody else have anything before we roll? I hate to say this, you guys, I'm totally starving, and I for the entire 2 hours drank my giant bottle of water, but I did not go to the ladies' room. So I think we're going to finish up with that. All right. So, BookTube Goddess. Hold on. Here we go. BookTube Goddess says, I've started querying a project very oh no. Oh no. I don't mean to make you feel bad about the querying process. People get published every day. Every day people get published by traditional publishers.
Querying is hard.
It is hard. It is a little bit of a, but you know what? It only takes one agent that just like loves your stuff. So, and that's it, right? It's like dating in a way. Like you could date a million terrible people and think like, oh God, everyone in the world is awful. But that's not true. And you don't feel that way anymore once you like meet the one. So anyway. All right. Thanks for hosting. Okay, was that like some other thing? Okay, cool. Yes, you're welcome. And thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead and do our wrap up, you guys, before we head out today. I can't even remember what order I went in last time. I'm going to let you start, Caro, and then I started with Robert. So I'm starting with you now.
Oh, okay. Hello, my name is Kara Brown. I also write in Faye Black. I came here to outline things. Things were outlined. I consider this a success. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Story Detective.
Well, I have compiled storytelling in words and pictures my entire life, and I use my experience, my failures, and put everything story oriented that I can think of under a Sherlockian microscope and break down the craft for the viewers in hopes that your journey will be easier. I have new videos up. And as CO pointed out, last week I did throw YouTube under the Sherlockian microscope in my last video. So there's some honesty there. So and new stuff is coming.
Good. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's really fantastic. Next week we're going to talk about writing process. I feel like it's going to be an interesting discussion. Michelle, tell us a little bit before you go.
All right, I'm Michelle Schusterman. I wrote a chapter today, so I'm very happy about that. And I really enjoyed this discussion, and thank you for having me, Lisa.
Thank you as always for being here. That goes for all of you. Thanks to everybody who hung out with us in the chat. I have like a ton of stuff going, but I'm very happy with what I was writing today. So I don't no, it's not Bedazzled. So no, the horror geek would never allow it. No, it's not Bedazzled. Plus, wouldn't you get little first of all, you might get little sparkly things stuck on your hiney when that would be bad. So yeah. Okay. So this took a bad turn. If you want to write a book, you're super proud of it, get it published, this is an awesome place to be. Thank you for being here today, and we will see you guys all next Wednesday. Keep writing. You've got this. All right. Bye, guys. Bye.